Good morning. It is time for Coffee Talk. Sunday morning, 5:30 a.m. I am up really early. Got my coffee though. It's a nice French roast. I'm going with the fruity cup today, so not bad, not bad. It's kind of weak actually for a French roast, but it does have my hazelnut creamer in there, so I know that's heresy to the black coffee drinkers, but I don't care. I need sugar in my coffee. That way I can get hyper on both caffeine and sugar. You know, I think that's false. I don't think that sugar thing's real. A little bit off the rails though already, aren't we? We're going to talk about the missions and sales as usual. Quick blurb about a Defender rental that's out there, or might be, or might not be, depending on who you are. 1.01 is out. We'll talk about the new patch. The Object 430 version 2 is being changed. Don't know why. Actually, I do, but it's silly. We'll talk about that. Province is back. Take a look at that map. It was terrible. It's still terrible. And the Italian line has come out. You can see that I have one of them called up right here. That's the Progetto. And I've ground up to the tier 7. I'm going to talk about a few things on the Italian line that I've found out so far. I will have full reviews from tier 5 up to at least the 9, maybe the 10 if I play it enough once I get there. Usually kind of lose interest by the time I get to the tier 10 on most lines. But a new line is always good. Content is king. Let's get started with Coffee Talk. Grab your coffee and we'll get to it. All right, let's dive into the events and missions. And we'll start off with the easiest mission set that has ever been released by Wargaming. Except for the fact that you have to understand you must do it in an Italian tank. So that being said, you can see here in Events, Italian Tech Tree Release. Once again, all the cards are randomly distributed around. It's ridiculous. However, the basic deal here is you play 9 games in an Italian tank and you finish the mission. So you can see that I've done it 9 times here. You get, let's see, what are we calling it today? This is a token. All right, so we got token. This time it's just tokens. I don't see any stamp in here. So 9 times, you see I've done it 9. I believe it has to be tier 2 or above. There's some confusing things on the website itself, talking about a couple of them have to be at tier 10. I got them all done with my tier 5. I free XP'd to the tier 5. I played the tier 5 9 times because I was grinding anyway, and I collected all this stuff. Now, do this. Even if you're not going to go up the Italian line, get yourself to the tier 2, because I don't think the tier 1 works. Get yourself to the tier 2, play it 9 times. I promise you, do this, because you're going to end up with 2 garage slots, a day of premium, and all the rest of these goodies, to include down here credit reserves, which are fantastic. Now, they're only the 25% ones, but that's fine because those are the best reserves out there as far as I am concerned. Also, you can see I've played 59 times in my Italian tanks, and you're getting the multiplier here for a combat experience multiplier. This one, I believe, is the tier 10 one, or tier 8, sorry. It's actually tier 8, 9, and 10. So you have to have the tier 8, 9, and 10 to get this multiplier of crew experience, which is pretty nice. So if you have free experience to get yourself right up to the 8, you're going to end up with a bunch of crew multipliers. Why why the crew multiplier is all the way at tier 8, I can't tell you. It's a very generous event, except for this weird situation where you have to be at tier 10 for the crew multiplier. Because, you know, when you're lower tiers, you're not really worried too much about grinding up your crew, right? Anyway, not really complaining. That's a fantastic event right there. Get yourself a tier 2 Italian and make sure you go get those goodies right there. Or if you're just playing it anyway, you've probably seen that happen. All right, so over to the missions. We've got 2 tank masteries as usual. The Centurion AX is on track, as noted last week, I believe. We have a supply raid mission going on. Lots of different things you got to do with that. I won't go through that. You can dig in there. There's nothing really new. I've done supply raid 2 10 times. I've completed this one 39 times for the ×2. This is a top 10 by experience kind of thing where you get a multiplier. So there's actually a lot of experience flying around this weekend as well. We've got supply raid number 3, which I haven't done at all for some. Why have I not done this? Looks like it's potentially low tier. Okay, so it looks like it's a low tier thing down there. And we've got supply raid 3. So anyway, you can take a look at those. And then the other missions, these were interesting. This is for May the 4th, the whole Star Wars act. A 2000 blocked, gave you a multiplier. You could be in the top 5, and this one is the interesting one here. Is this it? Yes, this is it. So, unknown why, on be the top 5 by experience, you get 4 large kits and 5 large repair kits. But I noticed I hadn't tripped it, so I thought, well, I've easily been in the top 5 by experience multiple times. Why haven't I tripped this? So you go here to select the vehicle, and you have to do it in a T54. You have to do it in a T54. Now, these might be going away. In fact, I just got the little message here. It's 5:30 in the morning. These may be going away because they do say, I don't see where the date was. It used to be there. They were only for the 4th and 5th. So we've rolled over into the 6th, and the server may be resetting on me right now. So by the time you see this Coffee Talk, if you dig into missions, these dudes may be gone. You see they never tell me the odds for spotting, and there's a lot of little goodies in there, nothing really major as far as that goes for the mission. So let's get our shill on, and we'll move over and see what's for sale. All right, getting our shill on. We have a Tetrarch sale. Who wants a Tetrarch for 61 bucks? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? So this, holy cow. All right, so a $61 Tetrarch. Of course, you're getting 5 million credits, 5,000 gold, and then 40 missions of times 5 XP if you really want to suffer through playing the Tetrarch 40 times for times 5 XP. Now, why would I play a Tetrarch for times 5 XP? I suppose if I was looking to convert to free XP, I might want to do that, or potentially if I was training a crew. Remember, this is a Soviet light tank with only 3 crew members. Interestingly, the T100LT only has 3 crew members, so you could conceivably use that as a trainer for your T100LT crew down at Tier 2. I have one of these things. It's a fun little tank. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. There's a couple other versions of that whatever it is I'm looking for, package, I guess. The GF is back on sale. Lovely. So the tank with no weak spots, fantastic. Frontally, anyway. You can get a Chi-Nu Kai. Chi-Nu Kai. I can't tell you much about the Chrysler K because I don't own one. The Chi-Nu Kai, I do own. It's a mediocre Tier 5 medium. Not great. There's better Tier 5 premiums out there by far. It's an interesting tank. If you're really focused on grinding up that Japanese medium crew, maybe you want to think about that thing. But of course, the STB is not what it used to be. From Power Creep, the Marbricker is still out there, and we've got an LTP also package with 30 days of premium and whatnot. So if you want a really expensive LTP, it's there for you. Wait a minute. 30 days of premium. Oh, this is a special for me. 30 days of premium and an LTP for $12.59. Well, that's interesting. That actually might be a decent deal right there. Minus 29%. I'd have to do the math on that. Could be worth it. You'll get the gold for tanks you already own anyway. The LTP is a pretty good, it's not a T127, but it's a pretty good little, well, it's a, let's be honest, it's a seal clubber. I don't spend a lot of time at Tier 3, almost none. And that is pretty much it. Let's just take a quick look at the vehicles. If there's anything else interesting out there you might want to look at. There's the Tetrarch again, all the things we talked about. Not much else. Yep, and everything else is standard. So there you have it. Our shill is done. You're welcome, Wargaming. So somewhat related to the missions and events and whatnot. It says Latin American Defender rental. This is on Armored Patrol. Apparently some players have been getting an offer or been given a gift. And in this case it's showing, I'll show you here as I click on it, 30 days of premium and 15 days of the M41 GF and 15 days of the Defender as rentals. A lot of speculation as to what this is. Not everyone's getting it, so it's unknown who is being offered it. There's been all kinds of speculation, like players coming back who haven't played for a while. Latin American players, just random players. If you did get this offer or got this, let me know, because I'm trying to figure out, it seems like it's free. It doesn't look like it's something they're buying, like as in you buy the 30 days of premium and you end up with the 2 Tier 8 premium tanks along with it. There's also speculation that it has to do with the new frontline mode. We'll get into that in just a minute, because that's purely Tier 8, which will allow them to play frontline if they, maybe it's people who don't have Tier 8s, although looking in this guy's garage, it looks like he's has been through Tier 8 plenty. No problem there. So very strange. But if you got it, let me know. I'd be interested if you got this same offer right here. And if it was really just 30 days of premium free, that's very interesting, actually, and a good deal if they're just throwing that out. All right, let's move on. And we got 1.0.1 out. Not a bad little patch. Working on 1.0. My biggest gripe about it is it killed my replays from 1.0. Sometimes the replays work, sometimes they don't. I always get a little message that says, hey, it's an old version, it might not work correctly. Do you want to try anyway? Or do you want to play it anyway? It says want to play it anyway. When I click that, of course, it closes the client down. So that message, I'm like, fine, whatever. If it has a few glitches, let me look at it. So the bummer there is I had some really good Progetto games for a review on the Progetto. Anyway, got off track on there. Let's see, what do we have? We have frontline mode coming, but that's not starting till the 7th. I dug around for about 10 minutes in the client trying to find it, and then I had to go back to the website and finally found a date that said, hey dummy, it doesn't start till the 7th. So that will be tomorrow, actually, on Monday. Lots of stuff on that as far as frontline goes. A battlefield, multiple starting points. You're trying to capture areas, base capturing. It's got a base defense system, overtime, zone capturing, pillboxes. Oh lordy, respawn mechanics. You can read through all that. I'm not going to go over it. I'll have a review on this after it comes out and we figure it out. Repair zones, combat reserves, which are things like artillery strikes, airstrikes, recon flights. Oh boy. There's a rank system, there's a progress system, there's a prestige option, which means you get to the top rank, you can start back over, which is pretty FPS standard on a lot of them. As you get up to the ranks and you reach that top rank, it allows you to keep on ranking up without going to more levels. You just start over with bonuses and stuff like that. Anyway, frontline mode, I don't know. I already talked about it last week. We'll see how it goes. I'm not too excited for it. Maybe it'll turn out to be a really great thing. Okay, this so the suspicious message alert. All right, so you guys have probably got this and you may have already figured this out, right? The suspicious message alert. How is it mech'd, right? And if you don't know, I'm gonna tell you how it's mech'd. Basically a suspicious message is a message from anybody who's not on your friends list. That's how they solved it. Last week we talked about how, hey, if they know these guys are possibly suspicious, why don't they just deal with them? Well, the fact is they don't, or they haven't wrote that code, or they can't, or won't, or whatever it is. But the way they fixed it is any message you get from someone who's not on your friends list is suspicious. Oh man, you can't make this up. All right. Gold, ammo, and consumables are no longer purchasable by gold. So that's interesting. One thing I always had to do when I went into my restocking for the tank deal, the service tab, is make sure you do the drop down and switch your gold ammo to being bought for by credits. That's, if you go in there and look at it, that's no longer there, no worries. So you can't get that accidental buy it for gold thing anymore. Let's see, maps. We're going to talk about province in a minute. So province has been added. They changed the spawn zones on Glacier, and I haven't played Glacier. Strangely, I haven't played Glacier in the last 2 days at least. Well, no, it's not true. I did play it once. I didn't really notice much difference on the spawns, to be quite honest. I'd have to look at it. I wasn't as familiar with that map as I might be with others. So if anyone's really noticed a real difference in the spawn, I guess it's been shifted further away. Further from the center. Okay. Well, that must mean they're away from the center piece of it. I think the problem they're having there is so many tanks were getting down and wrecking guys trying to cross, but That still happened on the game I played, so I don't know if that really fixed their problem. Some small improvements and fixes, and then Italy, we're going to talk about the Italian tanks in just a minute, and then there's the bonuses that they gave. They went ahead and buffed some of the Clan Wars awards, and we already talked about that last week. So that's 1.0. Let's get on with the details on some of that. So this is from the Super Test regarding the Object 430 version 2, which is one of my favorite Tier 9 medium tanks. Really cool tank. You see it's that rear turreted version, and it's the one that ends at Tier 9 right now when they did the reshuffle of the Soviet mediums. It's going to have a new Tier 10 added to it. That line right now it only goes to Tier 9. And it's going to be a rear turreted Tier 9 or Tier 10 as well. So under this whole thing that they're doing where they want tanks to fight the same or similar within a line, whatever, they've decided to re-wicker this thing. And what they're doing, which is a bummer as far as I'm concerned, because this was a fairly unique tank the way it fought. I mean, it was one of the best brawling tanks out there, even with a rear turret. It had such great armor, it could really get in there, but if you got to its side, it was in a lot of trouble. So what they're doing is, you can tell right here, front plate from 120 to 80, side armor from 80 to 60, front turret from 248, so they're really nerfing the heck out of the armor. It's going to have a little bit more DPM. The gun's getting changed around a little bit, and the gun's going to actually reload a bit faster. Change rounds per minute to more. All right, so it's getting the rounds down range a little bit more. And it's getting more accurate. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it? So they're going to take a little bit of armor away from it, which is not really a huge medium meta kind of thing, and they're going to make it fight better. Okay. Basically bring it in line with the Object 416, the one before it, which is more of a stealthy kind of assassin. It's really like a little medium TD kind of thing. Man, oh man, they just keep on rolling with this stuff, don't they? They do. They just keep rolling with this stuff. Just bizarre. The other thing I love about this, oh, of course the view distance needs to be increased, right? Yeah. Now, what changed on the physical model of it? They're always so worried about realism and stuff, right? It has to be real. I can't change numbers because we're all worried about the realism and we've studied these tanks, right? And all of a sudden we're dropping 40 millimeters of armor. Now this was kind of a fake tank anyway, but still, the hull is based on known holes and other things like that. So the question then becomes, why did it have so much to begin with? Or why are we now dropping it to 80? And out the other side of our mouth, we're always talking about we can't change things because of realism. My point here is that they should be able to move whatever stats around on their tanks they want to in order to deal with play balance. And this is what they think they're doing here. I don't really agree necessarily with the whole idea of make tanks all fight the same and give this tank a better gun handling situation. That's a play balance thing. But backing it up and saying that we can't move some stats around on certain tanks because of historical accuracy is just BS. They need to go with this kind of idea here where they just move the stats as required for playability, right? For gameplay reasons. So, you know, they're trying to do that here. I don't really understand why we have to have a better gun on an already pretty good tank. They're going to nerf some armor, which just means he's going to sit in a bush more with a better gun. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for changing one of the only tanks that you might really, mediums that you might really get in there and get in a fight with, and inducing people to sit in all the bushes that you've created. Hopefully you get Erlenberg and you can sit all the way in the corner of the map and let your team win. Anyway, that's changing. So it looks like Province has come back. I've played one game on it, I believe. If you recall, or if you didn't know because you haven't been in the game while they had this map, this was limited, I believe, to low tiers at the end of its run. Initially, it was high tiers. This is a big bowl in the middle, which is some kind of design that Wargaming loves. I don't understand. Lots of high ground on both sides, lots of buildings. The spawns are, I believe, here and here. And you can come down this steep road, cross over here, and there's roads that move up. And this has two versions. You can turn right and do a 90 switchback right here, or 180 switchback and come up here, or you can continue up and come up to the top. Big choke point right here. You can be shot. Now the other side, the northeast spawn, can come down this way and gets up to these roads where they've got a switchback and then all the way up. And it's more or less mirror image. I haven't looked at the ins and outs. So your team can rush down here and come up, spread out some snipers up top, hopefully get up here and stop them here and over here from coming up on top in some of this cover here, and then you'll have shots potentially across over here that guy's trying to take on your dudes if you spawned in the southwest. Also, the two pushing forces can shoot across the valley at each other in this direction. So this entire part of the map right here is a no-go zone. It's just a useless part of the map, right? You wouldn't want to be caught out dead there because you will be dead pretty soon. The one I played, I started here, I came up. I actually went up this way and we pushed around, and the guys who tried to poke around here and shoot at us got absolutely obliterated by all the snipers and campers over there. All right, so it's basically a very campy map. What they've done hasn't changed it. You do need to push and get lights, but there's still going to be guys just sitting up here and camping all day long. They made it slightly bigger. It appears to be for all tiers right now. I'm not going to say it's terrible quite yet. It's only 850 by 850, by the way, which is not very big. It used to be 600 by 600 or something really tiny like that. Oh, there you go. Never mind. It's tier 4 to 10. Tier 4 to 10. Yeah, you wouldn't want the little tiers to get on this. You just want the guys who can see across the entire map. That'd be oh, man. We'll see how this one goes. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any experience with the new province map and what you think about it. But it is back. All right, so last but not least for today's Coffee Talk, you can see that the Italian tanks are out. There's the Progetto. That's the one I talked about last week. I got that at a deep discount for the mission for it. That was good. Then when 1.0.1 came out, you all got a Fiat 3000. Look at that beauty. What a machine, the Fiat 3000. You also got a slot there for it, which means you should be able to sell that tank and have a slot. Does the slot go away? I think you actually got a slot for it. Let me know. I'm not sure. It appears that I did. What I did is, we'll go over to the tech tree. I free experienced through this way and all the way up to the 5, and I bought the 5 and I've played the 5 and grounded out. I've ground through the 6 and I'm currently on the 7 and fully upgraded on the 7, looking to grind towards the tier 8, the Pantera. You'll note that I've only got 1,000 free experience left, so that's going to be a little bit painful. It's going to be one of the first stock grinds I've done in a long time, so that will be interesting. I'm going to actually do a video on that and kind of talk about the stock grind because it's not something I've done in a long time. If you click on this guy, you can see that all I did was do my free experience through to the next one. I didn't bother with all the rest of the kit. And I went to this next guy, same thing, didn't bother with all the rest of the kit. Went to the next guy, same thing, went all the way through. You can see that these were already part of the tank. In fact, that might have been unlocked with this tank. I'm not sure how that went down, why I didn't need that. Or maybe I did unlock it, but I don't think I did because I didn't do the tracks. So that's strange. I'd have to re-look at that. I'm not really sure how that went down. Any event, I went through directly to the next tank so that I didn't waste free experience on unlocking tracks and other stuff on the tanks. There's going to be a review coming out pretty quickly on the tier 5 and the tier 6. Both those reviews are done. They'll be uploaded probably next week sometime. I'm working on the tier 7 review right now. You can see that I'm 90% win rate. That's out of 10 battles, 9-1 in that thing so far. I really like the tier 7. I thought I wasn't going to like it as much. I did not care for the tier 5. Let's go back. I didn't care for the tier 5 too much. It's interesting because it's got a lot of frontal armor for the tier, 80 millimeters on that bad boy, which is really interesting. Makes it kind of a heavium, but it's very slow, and the gun is kind of weak at 110 alpha. So you've got a slow, well-armored medium with not a very punchy gun, but it's a tier 5 medium, and they're all kind of goofy anyway. The difference between a tier 5 heavy and medium are not a whole bunch. It's really at tier 6 where it starts to split, and you can get definite characteristics of mediums and heavies. At tier 6, I kind of liked this, especially once I got the big gun, because what happens here is this thing goes from a 110 alpha gun to a 90 millimeter 240 alpha gun. That's in my review, but that is a punchy gun for a tier 6. You usually don't see that kind of hitting capability until tier 7 on mediums. It's the only one that I know of when I did my comparison that had 240 alpha. All the rest are still sitting at 150, 110, that kind of thing. And it had decent speed, so it's getting a little bit faster, and it still had that 80 millimeters of front armor. You'll notice that it's more usable on this guy. It's angled, kind of standard angle. If you go back to the tier 5, you got these weird, goofy angles all around, and it's harder to kind of do your thing and side scrape. But this one's got a more uniform angled front end, and it can really get some interesting bounces. It's not a mouse. You're not going to just drive forward and go, hey, I can't be hurt kind of thing, even though you can hurt a mouse with 2. Same thing applies here if you press 2. But you will surprise people. And then, so when I got to the tier 7, unfortunately the gun doesn't get any better. It gets a little bit better handling at a cost of DPM, which is bizarre. If you look at this, the smaller, I won't even call it smaller gun because they're both 90 millimeters, but the shorter gun actually has a higher rate of fire. And what you get is a whole 25 pin and only 15 extra gold pin, which is bizarre, and a lower DPM. So I'll be quite honest, I'm not sure. I'm kind of on the fence where I might just think about dropping back down to this and just accept 15 less pin. Even 195 is kind of anemic at tier 7, especially if you're dealing with a tier 9 with a bunch of armor. That can be very difficult. So I've liked it so far, but the gun situation is a little odd. I'll keep an eye on it, and when I do the review, we'll talk about it more fully. That gun is fantastic at tier 6. It's so far okay at tier 7, although, like I said, I'm a little bit worried about the tier 9s that you're going to end up facing. I haven't faced too many. I've got a list. I've been, in those 10 battles, I've been middle tier in a 357 5 times, bottom tier 4 times, and top tier in a 2-tier battle once. So the only top tier has been in a 2-tier battle. I've kept records actually of the 5, 6, and 7. If we take a look at this, actually it might be interesting for you guys. If I'm looking at the 5, it's on my little sticky notes here. This is all very scientific. The tier 5, I was top tier in a 357 once, mid tier 4 times, and bottom tier 6 times. That's about right, I think, math-wise for the percentages, maybe a little low in the top tier. But if you get to the 2-tier battles, I was top tier 4 times and bottom tier 3 times. And then I had one game where we were all single tier. Blah. Single tier. Easy for you to say, or me. On the tier 6, in 357, I was top tier 5 times, middle tier 5 times, bottom tier 20 times. That's about right. I didn't have any single tier games, and I had 3 times top tier on a 2-tier game and 3 times bottom tier on a 2-tier game. So that was actually not bad as far as that goes. And remember, that was tier 6, and tier 6 can be pretty brutal like tier 8 can be. So it wasn't too bad as far as the matchmaker goes for either one of those tanks. And I'm doing okay in the tier 7, even only having 1 top tier on a 2-tier battle. It has not bothered this tank too much. The other cool thing about the tier 7 is it's really fast. Really quickly, babbling enough about this, let's talk real quickly about crew. This tank here has 2 crew. This one has 4 crew. The crew setup for this tier 2, the tier 3, and the tier 4 are all the same. The tier 5 switches it up. If we go here and look at this, grab the details of both these guys. Just know that if you're one of these people who wants to just take a crew and grind through the low tiers, let's talk about that in just a minute, about why I don't really recommend that. But if you are that guy, remember that the lower tiers up to tier 4 is a commander, driver, radio operator loader, and it switches to commander, gunner, driver loader. So be careful about that. You're going to end up changing qualifications or adding a guy or spending some gold or whatever. I don't really recommend dragging your crew through to tier 5. What I would do is just play these with whatever crew you got, and once you get the tier 5, then start dragging your crew along. That's what I did. You just don't play enough down at these lower tiers, and you're going to end up spending a lot of gold switching them from tank to tank. If that doesn't matter to you, then by all means, go for it. If it does matter to you, you're looking to be a little more frugal, be careful about dragging crews through until about Tier 5. At Tier 5, and especially at Tier 6, that will start to become a grind, and you'll have time to get that crew going and get them better. As an example, I started this crew at Tier 5, and you can see they're still only at 92% or so on their first skill or perk. All right, that's the Italian line. Well, that's all I've got for Coffee Talk. Kind of a quiet week, actually. Not a whole bunch going on. Just the release of the patch with the Italian line, which I've kind of enjoyed. I like new content. I do enjoy grinding up the lines. I'm sick that way, I guess. That's one of the things I like about the game that I've noted before. So I'm happily moving along through the tiers. I'm at Tier 7, like I said. Got 5,000 experience towards the 100 I need to get to the Tier 8, which looks really interesting with that auto-loading kind of thing. One thing more I'll say about the Italian tanks, especially at the higher tiers, if you look at them, don't they sort of look like kind of like Ferrari tanks? Like Italian design was thrown in there? I don't know. They just really do look like Italian tanks. Okay, that is it for me for Coffee Talk. Hope you guys have a good week. Just keep sending in the videos. Got any good ones, bad ones? I've kind of started doing this miserable Monday thing, so I'm looking for any games where you just had a bad time or got nuked multiple times by Artie or something really unlucky happened. Send those in. I'd like to see those as well. We've had a couple new people send in videos for replay analysis or for me to look at. That's been cool. I've enjoyed that. I have realized that there's a comment section on YouTube. That only took me a year and a half. So I should be hopefully looking at that as well. I've got, as I get more and more into this, I've got 4 or 5 places I have to go look for things and keep an eye on all at once. So sometimes some of it slips through the cracks because I'm old and slow. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Have a cup of coffee, play some tanks. Take care.